Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. All real estate markets are not created equal. Today we'll take a look at a market that's cheap, cheerful, and affordable. We'll talk about brand new build-to-rent homes and apartments in Central Florida. And we've got two great guests today on the Real Estate Guys radio program. In uncertain times like this, it's great to know there are two things you can always count on: high demand for affordable single-family homes to live in, and Terry Kerr's amazing Memphis team at Mid-South Home Buyers to find, fix, and manage the next addition to your recession-resistant real estate portfolio. The Memphis market is logistics and distribution dynamo with an economic engine that's essential to moving goods and critical supplies all over the United States. Quality rehab, proven profitable property management, affordable rents, and solid ROI make turnkey property investing through Terry's team a dream when it matters most. To learn more about Memphis and Mid-South Home Buyers, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. With me, as usual, it is our co-host and financial strategist, Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
What is an investor to do? There's so much going on, and there's so little travel. And part of what we do as real estate investors is we look for markets that have great opportunity, whether that's a demographic market, a product type, a physical locale. And you know, I've spent a lot of my career kicking the dirt, traveling around. I visit a lot of places, and that all stopped in March, and so we've had to retool ourselves a little bit. And yet what's happened, we've talked on the past on this show about kind of the winners and losers in COVID. So temporarily, if you own a movie theater or a restaurant or a hotel, that could be a challenge. If you own something like a distribution center or multifamily, well, that's going to come with its own challenges. If you own retail, right? So different products have reacted differently, but the same is true for markets. There are markets that have weathered the storm pretty well. There are markets that are in complete disarray. And so today we're going to look for a little sunshine when it comes to a real estate market that makes sense.
Yeah, well, actually, probably a lot of sunshine. But, you know, we've been talking about this ever since 2008. 2008 took us to school. And it was great. I mean, it wasn't fun going through it. And maybe for those of you who are going through your very first crisis or on the front end of what is probably going to end up being an even bigger crisis, you're going to get some lessons. You're going to find out where you were wrong-footed, where you weren't structured properly, where your psychology wasn't right. You weren't able to see and adapt to the opportunities and get out of the ways of the risk. Sometimes you're blinded by your own paradigms and prejudices. So there's a lot of things that happen when you go through these intense experiences. But one of the things that we learned is that real estate is not a market. It's not an asset class. You know, people that you watch on TV that talk about it are talking about things in the macro, but there is no macro real estate. It is all very, very regional. And when you understand that, the dynamics that cause businesses and people to move around, then you can look at the dynamics happening at the macro and say, where is this going to cause damage? Where is this going to cause people to leave? And where are they going to go? They don't disappear. The money doesn't disappear. The people and the money and the businesses move around. And so when you understand that, then you can see that there's going to be an opportunity on the opposite side of a problem. Obviously, there's a lot of problems right now, which tells you there's a lot of opportunities. And we think we found a real gem, and we're going to share that with you today.
One of the things we focus on as real estate investors, especially people that are interested in housing, is net in-migration, meaning that in every city, in every state, in every country, really, every day there's a number of people that are moving into an area and a number of people that are moving out. And whatever that net number is going to be either positive or negative. More people are fleeing, like New York City or the entire state of California. More people are leaving than coming in. So that's negative net in-migration. Clearly, if there's positive net in-migration, there's more people coming into an area than out. That's going to have an effect on the price of housing, whether that's owning property, whether that's retail, office, commercial, whether that's renting properties from month to month. It's going to have an effect. And it's simple supply and demand. The demand goes up as more people are after scarce resources. Now, there's another part of it that's happening now with the COVID-19 pandemic, and that is people are rethinking where they want to live. Do I need to be in the market I'm in? I think there's a whole host of folks that have figured out they don't need to go to an office every day and work. Even big companies have been able to offload their workforce to working from home, and they're discovering that's actually working pretty well. So the big question is, if you could live anywhere, regardless of your work, where would you live? Again, there's going to be winners and losers in that market. No offense against Fargo, North Dakota, but I think that's a place people aren't going to go move because it's a great place to live. The weather's tough. It's right. People are going to move to places where there's great weather, where there's sunshine, where there's stuff to do. And so today we're going to talk about Central Florida. It's been one of our favorite markets for a long time. And it's not even a market, right? That's a big area and there's multiple markets within that. But we're going to learn today why it is that Florida continues to do well in spite of being a hotspot in COVID for a while, in spite of the fact that tourism is down. There are still great sustainable drivers and positive net in migration. When we come back, we'll introduce you to our friends Gene Gillen and Wagner and Velasco as we talk about Central Florida today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
Real Estate Guys listeners, are you tired of losing real estate deals due to financing issues? Have you had enough of waiting on banks, lenders, and investor groups to fund new projects? What if there were a way to eliminate all the hassle and invest in real estate on your own terms? I'm here to tell you there is. Patrick Donahoe here from Paradigm Life. I'm an Investopedia Top 100 Most Influential Financial Advisor, and I recently wrote a best-selling book about the financial strategy that changed my entire investment model, and the one that could change yours. To get a copy of my book for free and learn how you can maximize your real estate portfolio by acting as your own bank, send an email to mybank@realestateguysradio.com. Don't make another real estate deal without reading my book first. Email mybank@realestateguysradio.com now to get your copy for free.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Hello, this is Dave Lendigert, co-founder of RE/MAX International. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, heard every weekend on this great radio station, all the time at realestateguysradio.com. We're talking today about the market of Central Florida. It's been one of our favorite markets for a decade now for a lot of reasons. And it's one of those things that's actually gotten better in the pandemic. Here to visit with us about that, let's first say hello to our good friend Gene Gillen. Hey, Gene.
Hi, so nice of you to have us on again today. We miss you guys. We miss seeing you, miss hugging you and being with you guys. So hopefully we'll be through this soon and we can all get together again.
Well, that is the plan. We love to come to your market, which, as you always say, is cheap and cheerful. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot going on in Florida. Gene, you've been in this business a long time, and your specialty is helping investors. So been a realtor forever, but really focusing on the investment market, which is kind of unique. And so if the numbers don't work, the deal doesn't work. And yet there's a lot of concern. We've heard about COVID in Florida. It's a hot spot and all that kind of stuff. But tell us what's been happening in the last couple of months in the market you work.
Well, first of all, we found out that one of the places a lot of people want to move to is Florida. And the reason why they want to come to Florida is because, as you said, we're cheap and cheerful. So in fact, I was talking to somebody from California the other day, and I said, you know, the house that you're going to buy for $200,000 is very equivalent to $1.5 million house where you live in California. And she said, probably more. So that's what's happening. We're very cheap and cheerful. We do have an enormous amount of COVID cases, but if you look at them, we don't have that many fatalities. Our governor, good or bad, Republican or not Republican, whatever you are, he did a good job not letting people that left nursing homes go back into them. So that really cut that off at the base. We have a lot of schools here. We have a lot of young people, but they are not really, they don't experience it like older people like myself. So we kind of keep our distance from young people. We kind of do that. But the truth of the matter is, if you go out and you look in a parking lot here, and you look at the license plates, they're coming from New York, they're coming from Illinois. I saw one today from Arkansas, Missouri, all of those states where they're stuck. And if they're going to move and they need to get a new job anyway, we have a huge amount of jobs. And where we're building, we chose those places because they were not dependent on Disney. They were not dependent on the 19 parks we have here. Very solid areas. For example, let's take Space Coast. Now, we all know about Elon Musk, and I just had a client from California who works for Tesla, okay? And now they're moving Tesla to Texas. And we also have SpaceX here in Florida, and we see things go up every day. You forget that it's happening. So in that area, which is now called Space Coast, back in 2014, 15, 16, and 17, it became huge. We have over 400 new employers there. And the average person that works in this industry is over $100,000, which is big for Florida. It really is. I can honestly say that. So each area that we've chosen, we have another group in the Villages, and the Villages is the largest retirement community in the United States. So we have a very, very robust, we were always in the last year or two, the third largest state by amount of people. We far exceed New York now. They were before us. They have 19.5 million people. We're up to 22.5 million people. So people are coming here. And one thing I want you to really know is that in Florida, we have 60% of the land is not built on. Now, when I tell people that, they go, whoa, that's interesting. And the houses we're building are in infill lots. So they are all about 1/4 of an acre, more or less. We don't have to worry about neighbors because they're already there. Another thing I can tell you is that because we're in Florida and there is no state income tax. Now, I know that seems crazy, but just think, if they're making $100,000 in New York now and they come to Florida, and even if they make only 80, 90, they're making more money because they're not paying state income tax. There's a lot of good things. And we're cheap, cheerful, and we have a lot of sunshine. It's beautiful here. People ask me about hurricanes, so I'm going to say it right now. The insurance that we have for our houses is $49 a month for a $215,000 house, and about $27 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $160,000 house. So why? It's 2020 construction, so we have all the bells and whistles, and 2020 construction is big, and it reduces the amount of insurance you have to have. So I want to tell you that we're not worried so much about hurricanes. We don't have earthquakes yet, but they seem to be happening all over. We don't have any of that. So although we do have hurricanes, it's just something we have to worry about, but we know about it about 2 weeks in advance. So you can prepare. But with 2020 construction, the windows, you can hit it 140 miles an hour and nothing's going to happen. Also, our houses are block construction. Now, don't let anybody tell you that you're going to get a house and it's going to have brick on the outside. That's a facade, okay? What you want in Florida is a cement block house. It's not going to hurt whether a renter rents it from you, but when you go to resell it, you're going to not find it a happy moment, because Floridians like to have a cement block house.
Well, that's a good point. And I think even the bigger point, folks that have heard you on our show many times in the past, touting the great markets that you represent in Florida, we've seen all that come true, right? You've helped lots of Real Estate Guys listeners into properties, some new properties, some older properties. But a couple years ago, you introduced us to Wagner, who is a home builder and has that background. And today you guys have teamed up to create the type of housing that is in demand. So let's welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program program, Mr. Wagner Nolasco. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Robert, for having me. I'm doing very well. Florida is doing really well. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, Russell, and Jane.
Well, what's great is, the way that you've seen what the market has given and then figured out what the answer is. And for you guys, it's been these single family homes and it's ground up construction. They're brand new, and yet they're right literally in the path of progress. First of all, talk about what the advantage is to a brand new house as an investor.
I'm going to tell you how much I suffer by doing turnkey properties first. I have done over 400 turnkey properties in my career, and I used to own a lot of them as an investor as well. So as I tell usually my good friends, which are doctors and investors, you can put a brand new heart into a person, but you can't guarantee the arteries are going to be unobstructed. So the more work you do into a tenant-ready, a turnkey property, always that 40, 50-year-old house, they're going to show some signs. Brand new construction is the way to go. Your capital expenditure is going to be minimum or close to zero in the first 5 years. As Jane very well said, Florida has one of the toughest building construction codes in the country because of the weather that we have to storm here. So concrete block construction, brand new hip roofing. We're using some metal roofing in some areas that will stand 40 to 70 years. Brand new energy efficient air conditioning, windows, tile floors throughout. I mean, a brand new car is a brand new car. A brand new home is a brand new home. And for resale value purposes as well, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck.
So the big challenge, of course, has been, I'd love to have a new home, but generally builders are building nicer, newer homes to people on the higher end of affordability. And when you look at the rental metrics, rarely does it make sense. A house you have to spend $300,000 for isn't going to rent for more than $1,800 in many cases. But you kind of reverse engineered it. You guys found where there was a demand, and obviously one of the big obvious demands is the Space Coast. Here are $100,000 a year plus jobs coming in. And when you re-engineer what someone can afford for housing into what you can build, you've kind of found a sweet spot.
We did. And what it's quite amazing, Robert, that what we found is we're able to build houses with equity built in. And how do we do that? Because we are large developers, and now we have 9 builders working exclusively for us. This week, by the way, we just had a 30% increase on lumber prices.
Ouch.
But if we're buying product for 50 to 100 houses, we can negotiate a little bit better. So when we built the same model house, and what we have created, Gene and I, is we created a product that it's called tenant resilient housing. So we do tile floors, granite countertops, hardwood cabinets, hip roofing, concrete block, Wi-Fi ready garage door openers. We buy in volume. And, this economy of scale really plays a big role into creating a better product at a lower cost and passing along those savings into our investors. So understanding the market, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms in that area, so you can maximize your rents are key. Maybe 100 more square feet is not going to cost that much to build, but it will, value a lot the property as far as resale. So knowing that local knowledge, as you said, real estate is local. You can't duplicate something that you build in California or New York and Florida. It's just not going to work. So that local boots on the ground, that knowledge is key to success here.
Well, and if you look at the construction, it certainly makes sense to have block construction and the kind of materials you're talking about in nature of the weather that Florida gets. But also those things translate to attractiveness to tenants. Tenants like new just as much as owner occupants do. So you have a new property. It looks great. It's got great tenant friendly amenities, but they're also tenant resistant or tenant resilient, as you say. Talk about that part, how you design a property withstand the wear and tear of tenants.
Well, tenants, I have found out, as my personal portfolio can probably show and tell, they can pretty much destroy whatever they want, right? The only thing we can do is really try to improve the quality of the products we utilize in the construction so we can have minimize capital expenditure through the years. So for example, carpet is one of them. Great product, very inexpensive, but you're going to have to wash or clean or exchange every 3 to 5 years. A tile floor or a waterproof vinyl will stand you maybe 15 to 20 years, and maybe you have to regrout it every 10 years or 12 years, but it's not a product that is going to require maintenance. For mica, for example, people can burn. They can put hot pans into it. Granite countertops and quartz, you don't have that ability, even if they try to. So it's really working on the details, what your capital expenditure is going to be utilize and minimizing that. Another aspect that I always tell people is all the water heaters we buy are either commercial or professional. Why do we do that? So those items are going to be built for restaurants or high traffic areas, so they will last you longer, right? Better quality roofing, either shingles with a hip roofing or metal roofing, because those are the big ticket items on a house. So we wanted to minimize and put a better product right at the beginning, so the investor doesn't have to worry about wear and tear as much or replacement cost. That's something we really take a lot of pride into it. By being an investor myself, I don't want a property management calling me and telling me I have to replace something. Another item that you said that it's really important, just finalizing your answer, 80% of our tenants that actually rent a new house, they tend to renew the contract for 3 or more years. So tenant retention on a new property is amazing. We have over 80% of our tenants staying on the property for over 3 years. So less turnover means more money in your pocket, less repairs, better quality tenants, and the screening of the tenants is absolutely key. We now have, Robert, 99.7% eviction-free rate on our tenants, meaning out of 1,200 properties that our property manager has under management, in 2019, we only had 7 evictions. So the quality of the tenant you place on those brand new houses makes a whole world of difference.
It's such a good point. And I think people understand, if they've been in investment real estate for any period of time, the two most expensive things we have are turnover and vacancy. When there's no one living in the property, well, you're making all the payments. Turnover is expensive when you have to do the work, and just like the turnkey properties, you find a great 40-year-old property with good bones where maybe there's some equity to be had. When you turn the tenant, it's going to be more expensive to do that than it would be something that's built with the tenant in mind. And I think that's part of the long-term thinking. And these kinds of investments are fairly long-term investments. You don't buy a single-family house in Florida expecting to sell it, 5 years later or 2 years later, although that's certainly a possibility. In fact, I would think that if you have the kinds of tenants that generally are going to sign for 3 years who make $100,000, how often are you seeing, or is it too early to tell, the tenant being in a position to buy the house after a number of years?
A lot of technology tenants that we have in our properties, they usually come here for contract work. So they come for 3 or 4 years. And those are the tenants we want. They're not coming here to establish themselves as a family. They're coming here for contract. A lot of defense contract, technology contracts, medical contracts, and different areas have different tenant base. For example, if we go to Ocala, which is one of the areas we built, we have a lot of healthcare members, meaning hospital workers, assisted living facilities, level 1, 2, and 3 workers, a lot of nurses. If you go into the Palm Bay area, where is the Space Coast, you're going to have a lot of technology people in defense. So a lot of the people that comes to Florida right now, they're coming for the work and for the quality of life at a very reduced cost.
I think that it used to be different, okay? And it's changed now because we have so many people coming. First of all, the rents have gotten higher, which is really unusual. So we've somehow been able to build a $160,000 house that rents for almost $1,500. I mean, how crazy is that? But they come from different places. They're not used, they just want something nice. And a new house, people love it, especially with this COVID thing. They don't want to deal with somebody else's whatever, okay, dirt, whatever you want to call it, okay. Even if it's well cleaned, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with getting in an elevator and going up 20 floors. They don't want to deal with it. They have children. They want a house. They'll do a duplex. Some will even do a quad. We're getting into areas where that people are more sophisticated. That's why the ones that we're going to be doing, that Wagner will tell you about later, about the multifamily that we're doing, the bigger ones, we're doing it in an area where people are more sophisticated. But the single family homes are really amazingly well positioned. Even in Sebring, where it's a very nice middle of the Florida kind of thing, where things are happening again in the logistics department. Then you go north of that into Ocala, it's also logistics. Also, people that build for the villages just bought 8,000 new acres, and they're building 42,000 homes. But you have to be 55 or over to live there. So the school teachers, the people that fix golf carts, the people that fix cars, do lawns, work, as Wagner said, in the community, in healthcare, they can't live there, and they don't want to live there. They want to have their own community. So that's why we're choosing different areas.
We're talking with Gene and Wagner from the Realty Doctors today and covering Central Florida. We'll have more to talk to them about, including what's the effect of decreased tourism. And we're going to play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
Hungry for more real estate investing ideas? Here's 2 steps you can take today. First, go to realestateguysradio.com and sign up for our weekly newsletter. You'll get access to a continuous feed of thought-provoking commentary specifically for real estate investors, while also focusing on broader picture economics. Then, once you're at our site, look for the Resources tab, where you'll find our amazing collection of special reports. Browse dozens of white papers, webinars, and market reports, and request the ones that appeal to you. What are you waiting for? Head to realestateguysradio.com to implement education for effective action.
Don't be like Charlie, who scans the internet for IRA information, often getting bad information from copycats who have no idea what they're doing. You deserve to work with a reputable firm that specializes in one thing, the EQRP. Lucky for you, Congress just made it possible for you to get up to $200,000 out of your current 401k or TSP, so you can invest that money in real estate or even your own business. Even if you're still working, it's possible to get access to all this money tax-free. Whether you're a full-time investor, a doctor, or a government employee, even if you have employees, the EQRP is your secret weapon. You'll never see this strategy in Money Magazine, only here with the Real Estate Guys. Every major accounting firm in America is quietly sharing this strategy with their wealthy clients, helping them get their funds freed from 401k jail. Hi, I'm Damian Lupo, and we have your solution. With the CARES Act expiring soon, this strategy will be gone forever. The EQRP company is ready to help you unleash your retirement funds now. Want to learn more about this strategy? Send an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com for my special EQRP report today.
Hi, this is Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist with National Association of Realtors, and you are listening to the Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio show. Thanks for tuning into this show. If you've ever wanted to do bigger deals using other people's money, then you want to attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication. Happens the last weekend of this month, the 25th and 26th of September. Get all the details and your tickets at realestateguysradio.com under events. We're talking today about the cheap and cheerful market of Central Florida and this idea of finding properties that are new, no deferred maintenance, in the path of progress. We'll get back to our interview with Gene Gill and Wagner in Alaska. After we play Real Estate Trivia, your chance to win a prize by knowing today's Real Estate Trivia question, which I'll ask you in a minute. As soon as you think you know the answer, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. trivia@realestateguysradio.com. We'll need your name, the answer to the question, and your mailing address, because if you're the winner, we're going to send you a really cool book called Resilience, Turning Your Setback into a Comeback. It's a collection of awesome stories put together by our good friend Kyle Wilson, who will be joining us on the program next week, by the way. Before we give away this week's prize, last week on the Real Estate Guys, we had super syndicator Dave Zook on the program. We asked this: which market recorded the fastest rent growth in the United States in 2019? Well, according to apartmentlist.com, it was Henderson, Nevada, with an average increase of 4.8%, followed by Mesa, Arizona at 4.7%. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. We're talking about the great state of Florida. Here's our question: what's the official nickname of the state? Yeah, what's Florida's official nickname? It might even be on the license plates. If you know or just want to guess, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Be sure to include your name, the answer to the question, and your mailing address, because the first person that gets it right gets Resilience, Turning Your Setback into a Comeback. That's today's Real estate trivia question. We're talking about the sunny and cheerful market of Central Florida. Lots to like about Florida, specifically the brand new houses that Gene and Wagner are building. And one of the things that is always been interesting to us about Florida, guys, is the diversity. There are so many different types of jobs. You've talked about medical. You've certainly talked about what's happened in the Space Coast, technology jobs. We really haven't even talked about the colleges and universities. That's an amazing story. But I think probably one of the glaring questions is, well, what about tourism? Orlando and, those areas have always been big tourist areas. And all of a sudden, all these great amusement parks aren't having the same kind of numbers. How does that affect what's happening in your market overall?
Russ, the service industry overall is suffering tremendously. We can't tell you any different, and it's very, very sad. The local economy, it is suffering, but as Florida has always, as Walt Disney has showed us, we always reinvent ourselves, and we're really focused on what really matters. And what is that? Medical, transportation, as far as a brand new Brightline train, which is actually under construction right now, which is connecting the Orlando International Airport to Port Canaveral, which is the second largest passenger port in the world right now. And we're heading all the way to Miami through Palm Bay. So transportation, very heavily private capital investment here coming to Central Florida, generating a lot of employment. Technology is actually replacing a lot of the services industry as well. An example of that in one of the areas where we built in Polk County, we have LG just purchased 50 acres and it's building Neo City. It's a $500 million project, setting up a brand new research and development technology center for LG, the South Korean manufacturing and technology company. And if we go to Melbourne, for example, we have 400 new technology companies, just a lot of jobs, a lot of defense jobs, a lot of distribution jobs. For example, public supermarkets, largest supermarket retailer in the United States on the Southeast, has done over $1 billion in sale in one day. So distribution centers, Amazon, Chewy, Napa Auto Parts, FedEx hubs. So we are reinventing ourselves. Is the tourist industry going to suffer? We say yes. We don't know what will happen in the future, but hospitality, restaurants, parks are now fully open, as you can probably see. Disney is operational, Universal, SeaWorld, but it's probably going to take a while until our new norm becomes a reality for everybody, right?
Well, the good point is, and it has been since the beginning, that this is not a one-story town, and we're really talking about a variety of areas anyway. And certainly tourism is important, and, I'm going to place a wager that tourism is going to come back when people are more comfortable, more able to travel. They've always come to Florida in droves, so I can't imagine that stopping. And, another thing about it is a lot of the lifestyle in Florida is being outside, being in the sun, being at the parks, and that's a pretty good place to be when we're talking about containing infectious diseases. So this little blip has been interesting to watch when other markets have absolutely shriveled up and died. That's not happened where you guys are, specifically in the product level that you're in. I think, the folks that work at the parks and are in service jobs, okay, maybe some B-class apartments have been certainly hit by that, but the kinds of tenants that you have in the properties you guys are building are not those folks.
You're absolutely correct. And I'm so glad I was going to mention this, but we don't build anything in Orlando per se. Orlando will not cash flow anymore. So if you're looking at a property to acquire, that's going to be in the submarkets of Orlando or areas that have very high economical drivers, such as employers, different industry. We were never codependent on Disney in any of the parks in the first place. So this is great news for us, and I think the numbers can show a lot more. For example, with the cash out of the investors out of the stock market, we have seen tremendous amount of sales on new property. As very well said, entry-level properties, brand new properties is the way to go. Gene is buying a ton. I'm buying a ton. Our investors are buying a ton. In June, for example, we surpassed 104 sales.
Wow.
Which is amazing of new single-family homes. July, we had 78 sales. So we also have seen, Russ, we have 13% less inventory than what we have demand on the market right now. So we don't have enough inventory to supply to homeowners, investors, and everybody that wants to move into Florida. So we're sitting in a very, very good place. We're very fortunate to be here at the right place at the right time. And the submarkets that we chose are just thriving and non-codependent on the service industry.
Now, there's one other point that I think is super important when we're talking about demand, and that is tenant demand. And before we got started, you shared with us that right now there's a waiting list. So talk about that side of it. It's one thing for an investor to buy a brand new, beautiful home as a rental. It's another thing to make sure that there's somebody willing to move in and pay the rent.
So I have actually a witness here with us today, which is Gill. She acquired 3 properties in a market that it's called Ocala. We have listed the 3 properties for lease, and over one weekend, we had 54 tenant applications. That's simply amazing for 3 properties. So I am very happy and sad to say that we have a lot of homes that are being ready and being placed on the market, but we have 0 houses available for tenants today. Everything that we place on the market is already pretty much spoken for, or we pre-tenant those houses, or we have applications pending for those houses. So the market is really, really hot. Tenants love new homes, and we just have a shortage of new inventory for tenants at this time. So I'm so glad, happy, and sad at the same time. I wish we had more.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's talk about that angle of it, because obviously, 9 different builders working for you guys. You're seizing the opportunity, which is awesome. But the reality is there is a ton of demand. So if I'm an investor, I'm thinking, well, this sounds interesting. I might be interested in purchasing a home that would be an investment house for 10 or 20 years. How long does it take? I mean, what's the waiting list look like if I'm interested in purchasing a home from you guys?
So we have about 100 houses available today in different markets that we can allocate to right now. Some areas, actually, we did not expect such a great demand, and we are probably a little bit 2-3 weeks to allocate to one address. But we have about 100 houses available today, so you can place your order. We can put you on a reserve list, or even send you a contract the same day. The process is very simple. It's a $5,000 deposit in escrow, and we don't need any more money until you go to close. If you're going to use financial, another thing very important is the interest rates are crazy low. 30-year fixed at probably we have seen lately 3.5 to 3.6% fixed for 30 years for investment properties is absolutely unbelievable. Have never seen that before. So as you very well know, and we have very smart people in this podcast today, is if you can allocate a lot of financing at a very low cost for 30 years fixed, your tenant is going to be paying for the mortgage and the property taxes, so on and so forth. So being leveraged at a very low interest rate it minimizes a lot of the risk. Central Florida is amazing. Our development team and our builders, we have acquired close to 2,000 lots. And we're going to be producing close to 2,000 units in the next 36 months. That's how much we believe in Central Florida. That's how much money we're actually deploying and investing into the local economy.
Now, before we leave the topic, you also mentioned, Gene, you had mentioned that you guys are looking at some other product types as well, and specifically more multifamily. Talk about that and why that makes sense.
Well, I'm going to let Wagner talk about that. But I wanted to say that it's going to happen, that this is going to be over. It has to happen. And we've all, us old folks that have been around for a long time, I've been a realtor for 41 years. Wagner's 41 years old, so we laugh about that all the time. But, I've seen everything happen. I can remember my mother having to send me to school and wondering if I was going to come home with polio. Just think of that, what people had to do. And I can go through all of them. We thought everybody in the world was going to die in 1980 because of AIDS. And, we watched a lot of our friends die then, but now it's kind of like under control. So this will also get under control. And with all these amounts of people coming, what we've been trying to do is figure out, what are we going to do? Where are they going to go? And I did say we have 60% of our land that is not used yet. But there are people that live in an apartment building or live in a multifamily in New York or someplace, and that's where they want to live. I had a lady once, many years ago, wanting to buy a house, and I said, oh, here's a beautiful house, and it's on a golf course, and you don't have any neighbors behind you. And she said, I'm from New York. I want to see my neighbors. So we bought her a house. There was a neighbor on both sides. There was a neighbor on the back. So some people would just very naturally want to be in a multifamily. So that's why we are creating this other product. And also because we know that you have a lot of people that do wonderful syndications. Well, it may be the first time they get a brand new syndication, a brand new building. They don't have to fix up. They don't have to wonder what it's going to cost. Oops, all of a sudden, not only do we need a new roof, we need to change all the guts, as Wagner would say. So Wagner and I have joined up with another group, and we're building these multifamilies that Wagner will tell you about.
Thank you so much, Gene. I mean, you did such a great job explaining it. I just wanted to compliment in a way that we have seen a big demand for investors to buy, more property with the same loan. So as we all know, Fannie and Freddie, they will give you up to 4 keys under a regular loan. And, usually an individual can get up to 10 loans per person. If you're married, you can get 10, your wife can get 10. Once they get into that 7 to 8 loans, they want more keys, they want more doors, they want more revenue, more cash flow. And we have seen a big increase in demand for duplexes, quads, and we're answering to that. So a lot of our mixed developments are going to be between duplexes, quads, single family homes, townhouses. And we actually have just opened that up for syndication with the real estate guys. We wanted to offer that opportunity. Everything is brand new. Land has been acquired cash. Projects are real. All the floor plans are available. We love syndication. This is where we will work with very sophisticated and seasoned investors. And Florida definitely needs a lot of those syndicators. We have a lot of portfolios that we have created through 41 years of Gene's experience and almost 19 years of mine. But in reality is we have had so much demand, and we're so proud and honored to offer that through the real estate guys. Having a whole community that you can control, the HOA and all the aspects of it is just amazing. And all the economical drivers on all those areas are so wonderful and so amazing that, of course, we're going to do a one-on-one, but close to 2,000 units becoming live in the next 36 months. With the real estate guys. We're very proud to offer this exclusively right now. And Robert, Russ, you guys are amazing. I listen to you guys every week. I just follow you. We're very big fans and very glad and honored to be working with you.
Well, thanks for that. And we're thrilled to have you guys on board. I think whether folks are interested in just owning a single family home that makes a ton of sense or syndicating a bigger deal, before we're done today, we'll tell you how you can get some great information that Gene and Wagner put together, more than we could cover obviously in a show like this. But I do want to cover one more topic, and that's important for out of area investors, and that's property management. If I don't live in Florida, but I like what I'm hearing, I want to make sure that I've got someone to cover that. So I want to have you guys talk about 2 things. Obviously, the property management solutions that are available, but also every state out there is somewhere on the continuum between tenant friendly, erring more on the side of the tenant's rights, or landlord friendly, erring more on that side. Tell us where Florida sits.
Florida is very, very landlord friendly, even to the extent that you can really get somebody out in 28 days. And you don't have to do it. The sheriff does it, and it costs $750. But we haven't had many evictions. Why? Because Florida is landlord friendly. So if you're evicted, you will never be able to rent again. That's big. So it's not like you can hide in the weeds, because it's out there, and it's out there on every property manager's information that this person was evicted.
I just would like to say property management is key. It can make or break any deal, especially if you're a real estate investor. Our property management, which is owned by Tommy and Ben, it's called the Realty Medics. They have 1,200 properties under management at this time.
Yeah.
Out of last year, as I had previously said, we have 99.7% eviction-free rate, which we only had 7 evictions last year. Another very important thing that we have learned, Robert, is during COVID, before April, we were at 96% collection ratio. What is that? I mean, we count as the due date on the rent the first of the month. We have no grace period. So if you don't pay by the first, you're late, right? At that time, we had 96% positive collection. Right now, we're after the COVID, and by contacting all of the tenants on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, because we need to know if they need a payment plan, if they're paying their rents, if they're unemployed, we have actually raised that between 98 to 98.5%. So we're doing better now collecting rents than what we were before. Have we made a mistake all those times? I think we're learning our lesson, right? Communication is key, and we have to be in touch with tenants. So property management guys can make it or break it. Jean doesn't talk much about her other son, Stevie, and he has over 30,000 apartments keys under management. So we have both sides of the story here. We have a multifamily property manager that does amazing, over 30,000 units under management. And we have the single family home management company, which has over 1,200 houses. So, of course, those are only property managements that we work with. You're more than free to contact anybody that you wish. And that's what we wanted to always tell our clients. We will help you introduce you to mortgage lenders or finance people, insurance companies, and that's not necessarily who you have to use. We usually shop those rates to benefit our investors, and that's actually who we use for our own services when we buy properties. But in Florida, we are here to help you. You don't have to use any of the providers that we suggest. It's really an option just to help you guys feel comfortable. But property management can make or break your deal. Make sure you have a great one before or at the time that you acquire a property.
I just wanted to add one thing about property manager. We actually have 4. So we always introduce you to whomever you want, but property management makes or breaks your deal. If you don't like that person, you don't listen to them, you need to move on to the next person. And it's very important. But I will say, because these are new homes, you're not going to hear from your property manager like you would if it was an older home.
Oh, such a good point. And that's really, for lots of folks, they want to set it and forget it. They want to find a market and a property that works and then just have it spit out income. So in the midst of all this negativity we're hearing around the world, nice to have a ray of sunshine from you guys today. Gene Wagner, great to hear from you. Thanks for being on the show again.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Russell. Really appreciate you guys.
So good to see you.
We'll look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Yeah.
There's Gene and Wagner from the Realty Doctors. We'll let you know how you can find out what they're doing and get more specifics and numbers and all that kind of stuff when we come back. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Hear ye, hear ye. Registration is now open for the Real Estate Guys 19th Annual Investor Summit. Imagine spending an entire week with like-minded investors, world-class educators, and real-world professionals. Returning this year are sales legend Tom Hopkins, the editor of the Gold newsletter Brian London, international real estate developer Beth Clifford, and Jim Rohn's 18-year business partner Kyle Wilson. And joining us live and in person for his 9th Investor Summit, Peter Schiff. Plus, returning for his 9th Investor Summit, best-selling author and the Rich Dad advisor for real estate, Ken McElroy. Plus, lots more to be announced. It all begins June 11th in beautiful Belize. Visit realestateguysradio.com and click the tab that says Summit to reserve your spot. This transformational week is like no conference you've ever attended. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Summit and make plans to spend a week with the Real Estate Guys, Peter Schiff, Ken McElroy, and an all-star faculty on the 19th Annual Investor Summit.
Having trouble finding deals where the numbers make sense? Invest in an asset class that delivers cash flow to you in good times and bad, and where most of that cash flow is tax-free. I'm Dave Zook. Many of you have heard me speak at Real Estate Guys events or heard me on their podcast. My team is a top 5 ATM operator in the country, and right now accredited investors can make cash flow returns well into the double digits and get huge tax deductions. For your free report on this lucrative asset class, email atm@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Garrett Sutton, Rich Dad's advisor. Remember, equity happens, and you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you ever wanted to figure out how to do bigger deals using other people's money or profit from passive investing, come on out to the Secrets of Successful Syndication, appearing at a computer screen near you as we go virtual at the end of September. It's going to be an incredible event. We've got an awesome faculty. You're going to hear from folks who started just a few years ago and have raised tens and in some case hundreds of millions of dollars. All the details at our website at realestateguysradio.com under events. Well, my goodness, I am very excited, even more so about Florida.
Yeah, we've been talking about Florida and its potential for a very, very long time. After we came out of 2008, we looked at different markets and we said, which markets, are best positioned? We felt like the Dallas market would be a very strong market. You had a lot of things going for it. distribution, multi-tiered economy, centrally located, business-friendly environment. We went into Memphis and Atlanta, big distribution towns, and we looked at Central Florida and we said, hey, Central Florida's got all the things. If there turns out to be another economic downturn, it's going to be a place that is probably going to do real well. I mean, if you think about it, people were already looking forward to moving to Florida once they were free from the daily grind. I mean, we know that New York alone was hemorrhaging 50,000 people per year from New York into Florida. That's like, over a 10-year period, the entire state of, I think, Montana moving into Florida. And so that demand was already there. The baby boomer demographic, that was already going to happen. And then you add to that now the new freedom that people who find they don't need to work in offices any longer have to be able to kind of not retire, but go to where they would like to retire early and finish out their careers there and have their money go a lot further. So I just, especially in today's world right now where so many people are fixated on what's wrong and when's the other shoe going to drop and, oh my gosh, hunker down. The whole thing we've been saying throughout the entire COVID-19 and even before that, as there were cracks and there were signs, is that the rewards are going to go to the people who are aware, prepared, connected, and then position themselves both psychologically and financially to be bold and brave when opportunity presents itself. We've got record low interest rates right now. We've got a marketplace that's red hot, and you've got scalability. You've got inventory in a real estate market, nationally, where it's very difficult to get inventory. I mean, it's because these people are building. They're not waiting for someone who already owns to let go. They're creating new inventory to meet that demand. So, and that means the numbers make sense. When you're value engineering the product specifically for an investor, that's a very different proposition than trying to repurpose something that was built for a single family home owner. So it clicks on all 8 cylinders. It's very, very exciting.
I sat down and met Wagner a couple of years ago when they were talking about how to get ready for what was going to happen and how they were going to position themselves. And so it's not like overnight they're building hundreds of houses. This has been in process for a long time, but thank goodness they found great marketplaces. They got great teams in place, and now they're firing on all cylinders. If you're interested in what Gene and Wagner are doing and what inventory they might have, and you want to run the numbers and all that kind of stuff, just send an email to Central Florida at realestateguysradio.com, Central Florida at realestateguysradio.com. As they mentioned, they cover lots of different markets within that big geographic area, but certainly worth looking at it. I think one more thing to bring up, Russ, and that is from a business perspective, sometimes people have a hard time understanding why a developer would sell a property at less than they could get for it on the open market, meaning many of these single-family homes would sell as owner-occupant homes at a premium rather than the lesser price that Gene and Wagner charge investors. And the answer is pretty amazing. And it's simply the fact that investors will buy in bulk. Lots of our listeners have bought 3 or 4 or 10 houses from these guys. That's a better client for them, and so they pass the savings on. Rather than try to squeeze every dime out of every single deal, it makes sense to build long-term relationships with their buyers.
Well, when I went into the mortgage business, as you well know, because you met me on the front end of that, I strategically chose to work with investors. I didn't want to deal with homeowners. Dealing with homeowners is a very different thing. They care about which direction the kitchen faces or, the shape of the backyard or things that really don't have anything to do with the financial performance of the property. And so I wanted people that were going to be a little bit more left-brained, a little bit more analytical, a little less emotional, that were going to look at the numbers, look at the deal, and be able to make sense, on the mortgage side. And didn't really matter what the rates were. What mattered was whether they were making money on the borrow. And I mean, right now, the numbers are ridiculous because the interest rates are so cheap. And to Wagner's point in the show, if you can lock that in for 30 years and buy what is effectively a dip, I think that you can put yourself, nobody knows what the future is, but I just think that, if you're out there looking for opportunity, this is something you probably want to take a look at.
I cannot think of a reason to not pick up a couple dozen of those houses. So if you're interested, all you have to do is send an email to Central Florida at realestateguysradio.com. Big thanks to Gene and Wagner for being on the program today. Hey, registration is open for the 2021 Investor Summit. It's going to be amazing, and you can get signed up right now. Just go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click the button that says Investor Summit. Until next week, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.